Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. When life shifts, overcoming temporary disorganization. I am Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute. I am here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, where we are expecting snow at the beach. Snow at the beach today. So whenever you're watching this today, January 21st, snow at the beach this evening. Anyway, I am joined by...
I'm Barbara Hemphill. I'm the founder of Productive Environment Institute. I'm in Raleigh, and I don't know if we're expecting snow, but my husband is dying that we will have some.
I would love some. And we are joined by one of our very own special guests. She is part of our team at Productive Environment Institute, Liz Fackelman. And Liz, let them know where you're joining us from.
I'm joining from the college town of Davidson, which is about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic, north of Charlotte in North Carolina.
Yes, we are all three in North Carolina. So I'm going to bring us up on screen so we can connect with you guys. I don't know why, but I like letting people know where we all live. I think it's just some kind of connection with people watching us on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, wherever you're watching us from. Make sure you do find your way over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel. So we do these live once a week, and it's always really great content. We've got great guests. Sometimes it's just Barbara and myself having a conversation over coffee like we would any other day, talking about all things productivity related. So, but we're super excited to have Liz today, and I am going to do a brief introduction, but you're going to get to know Liz directly when you hear from her. So Liz Fackelman is an experienced professional organizer and certified productive environment specialist with a passion for creating order out of chaos. She helps female small business owners increase productivity in 90 days or less so they can go from overwhelmed to optimized and make more money without disorganization and overwhelm. She started her business, Davidson Organizing LLC, in 2013 as a second act career. I like that terminology, Liz. A second act career after being a stay-at-home mother with 5 children. Her first act career used her engineering degree from Duke University. Since a child, she has loved to create more efficient and productive processes and realized that the skills she used to design computers can be translated to designing effective and maintainable organizational systems in the home and office. So love all of that. And with having 5 children, you have to be organized, right? To a certain point. So to kick this off, let me just bring back up the title again. You guys, check this out. When life shifts, overcoming temporary disorganization. So what does that mean? So you might think, some people might think some people are born organized. They're always, so once organized, you're always organized. Even if you weren't born organized, but you had an organizer come in and helped you get everything organized, then you're always going to be organized. Is that necessarily the case? Not so much.
No, I don't think so. I do think some people have a more natural tendency to develop the skills and figure out the skills to be organized, whereas somebody who might be neurodivergent, we think ADHD, they may have more challenges and need more training on it. They don't teach organizing in school, for example. But even the most relatively organized person, such as myself, I always developed systems. I had a lot of routines for managing my household. I organized my home, but then you throw in another baby and you're throwing in challenges. And so the more blessings you have in your life, I like to look at it that way. The more blessings you have in your life, the more opportunities for chaos, the more things that can go wrong. So, you're juggling a lot of blessings and they come with their fair share of complications. I've been following Barbara for years. We're in North Carolina too, and I met her at a business meeting kind of early in my career. And I know she says, what matters is, can you recover quickly? Yes, life transitions, things happen. The question is, do you have the systems in place? Do you have the processes in place? Mm-hmm. Do you have spare space on your shelves that if new stuff's coming in, it has a spot? Then you can recover quickly. What happens is a lot of us are just flying by the seat of our pants. We really don't have any systems in place. We just are winging it. Well, that works as long as the workload, everything is manageable, but you throw in kids getting sick. In my case, what threw me through a loop was my mother's dementia increasing and my needing to spend a lot of time involved with her. And I didn't have the emotional margin. I had to hire a life coach, kind of a health coach, to help me through that. I didn't have the time margin to just suddenly, at a moment's notice, go take care of her. She was about an hour and a half away. So even the most organized person, someone who is a professional at this, things can come at you. And it just, I think what it reveals when you go into chaos, when things happen, is it reveals that you didn't have systems in place.
Okay. So let me jump in here. So it reveals that you didn't have systems in place, even though you may naturally, just naturally, you feel like you're an organized person. We've used the word in this title, overcoming temporary disorganization. Some other terms that have come up that Barbara has used in, which book was it, Barbara, that you talked about?
In Love It or Lose It, Living Clutter-Free Forever, we talked about 4 types of clutter. And one of them was situational, because of a particular situational,
Right.
which is different than embedded. Embedded means that's all you've ever had all your life. You grew up in it, and you never did it. But situational, and it happens to the most organized people, have situational disorganization. That's life.
Yeah. And another term is circumstantial. So think about what that means. Circumstantial disorganization. Under the current circumstances, I'm out of order. Because of the current situation, things got out of order. And a lot of times we blame ourselves. We think, oh, I'm so disorganized. What happened to me? Something must be wrong with me. But it really is, like you said, Liz, you're out of your norm. Something has changed. Something has shifted. And then, but it's such an opportunity then to put those systems in place, right? So you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I just got a testimonial yesterday from a new mother I've been working with. She was fairly organized. And then when she had that baby shower and they were acquiring all this baby stuff, their storage spaces in their house didn't have the spare space. And so we had to do a lot of moving things around and reorganizing. And so, as I said, Elizabeth was pretty organized, but then all this new stuff coming in, and she just needed fresh eyes to look at and come up with, oh, we can use the back of the doors, and just making sure there was space for new stuff coming in. And then the other challenge she had was just setting systems up and being, and so really making sure she had the systems in place. And so she said, she wrote to me, I think that was especially helpful was figuring out how to reorganize and move around solutions that previously worked until we had to rearrange everything around a baby and their items. And the long put off organizing tasks became more important, because not finding things when we need them is super annoying when you're sleep deprived and short on energy. I think this is an example where an organizer can help someone who's typically organized, but then in this case, it's a situationally challenged or temporarily challenged, although that baby will be there for a while. But newborns are more demanding, so I think it is more of a temporary situation of challenge. And she mentioned that she had been putting off doing the organizing tasks. And so having an organizer, having that accountability, having those appointments forced her to tackle some tasks that she frankly had been putting off. And then making sure that she could find things easily, because when you're short on, when you're short on energy, when you're really sleep deprived, it can be quickly annoying that you can't find things. And I really try and keep the annoyance factor down, and focus on, anything you need to recover or get or find on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. You don't want it to be annoying. It's okay if once a year you're annoyed because you have to go to the attic to get your Christmas stuff, but it's not good for the daily stuff to be annoying.
Well, I think, something's really important here. There's both ends of the spectrum. Okay. So in this case, it's a new baby. And then Liz, you mentioned that you asked for help doing it when you were helping your mother who had dementia. And in both of those cases, we're talking about extraordinary circumstances, and we're talking about extraordinary stress where there's lack of sleep and things like that. And so, the thing about asking for help is it's just amazing to me. I have a friend right now who's going through some really stressful times. I literally have been begging her to let me help. Please let me help you. Oh no, I can do it myself. It's like, I think about it from a biblical standpoint, that's pride. I mean, saying I can do it myself is being prideful. And that's something God says he hates most is pride. And it also says it's more blessed to give than receive. So you have to be humble to receive help. And that, it goes back to my premise of less clutter, more life, is that physical and digital clutter is a symptom of emotional and spiritual clutter. So it's the emotional and spiritual thing that's causing me to go, oh, I don't need help, or, oh, I can do this myself. So those are pretty significant. And it's interesting that so it doesn't matter what age we are. We could be at the age that we're having a baby, or we could be at the age that we're being a caregiver. The same symptom is happening.
That's true. I would love for you guys watching, wherever you're watching from, or even if you're watching the replay, put in the chat or in the comments if you can remember a situation or a circumstance where you got out of order, even when you maybe typically were somewhat relatively organized, but you got out of order. I'll give you an example. I had when my ex-husband and I were moving, my method we had to clear out the garage, or not the garage, the attic. And my method for it was I was going to go in and take out look at one thing at a time and file after toss. Do we even want to take this with us? Or we're going to get rid of it? And so in his mind, I was dragging my feet. I wasn't doing it fast enough. I wasn't getting the things out of the attic fast enough. So I came home one day and he had taken everything from the attic and put it downstairs into the dining room. And it literally looked like the attic had thrown up into the dining room. It was such a mess. And I was so mad. And I was so overwhelmed. And I was working with Barbara. I was already Productive Environment Institute, yay, Andrea's got it all together. No, I was a hot mess. And there was a local professional organizer. We were two organizers in the whole entire area that I live in at that time. And it was me and her, and she was residential. And she said, can I come over and help you? And I was like, oh no, I know how to do that. I'm going to organize, and she goes, let me just come stand next to you. And I was like, okay, fine. And it was the best decision just to have her come in, and she helped me just break down the barrier and overcome the overwhelm I was feeling. And we got through it. So.
Well, as we're recording this, there's a time where a lot of people are disordered because it's tax time. And, and that's such an example of where the time when you are going through that is a good time to think about what new systems it takes. So I always tell everybody, you can't undo the mess you created to do taxes this year. But you can figure out this year what to do so that next year won't be such a problem. So that's an example of circumstantial situational disorganization that in the U.S. we always have.
Exactly. And then Kathy's point here, Kathy Music is one of our specialists, New Path Productivity. Job changes have been challenging. So much new information to learn and people to get to know. And guys, thank you, Kathy, for that, because that just reminds me, think about a lot of people are going to be going back to the office now that have been working at home for a really long time. That is situational. That is circumstantial. And so they're going to need, so I just want to say, and then I'll pass it back to you, Liz, that to be gentle with yourself and don't feel critical of yourself if you are feeling a sense of disorganization and overwhelmed because something new has happened. Think about what might be new in your life that may be causing that. And then Mitzi said, after writing my book, my entire life needed reworked. I mean, that is a perfect example of situational or circumstantial disorganization. So back to you, Liz.
I agree. Yeah, you need to practice self-compassion. Brene Brown wrote a book called The Gifts of Imperfections, and she's just reminds us to be kind to ourselves and remember that it's a temporary disorganization. It's just that, it's temporary. It's a season. It's not a failure. Having said that, I do think there are some things you can do that are in your control when you're faced with these life transitions or life challenges. And I think one is to prioritize what matters most. When you're overwhelmed, identify what truly matters, both the urgent and the important task. You need to be able to write down the top priorities for each day and then have a system for capturing the rest. I'm a fan of David Allen, although sometimes I think his systems are a little too complicated. But what I specifically love is he encourages you to identify the very next action you need to take to move a project forward. For example, instead of putting plan event, or even worse, just writing event down with no verb on your to-do list, that can feel too overwhelming. So instead, let's say you say research possible venues or decide on date for event. Those are quick, easy action things that can get you going. It doesn't feel as overwhelming as event. And with me, it just feels that it reduces that overwhelm and it gets you focused and going forward on that project.
Yeah. One of the other things that's important to put in there too is the tiniest bit of progress forward is a good thing. And one of the things, one of our clients has introduced us to something. We're talking about the importance of celebration, and often we dismiss what we accomplish. But celebrating it, and I had a personal experience where I just was really reluctant to celebrate because it's not that big a deal, but I didn't get that done and all that kind of stuff. And she encourages, okay, you've got to figure out some way. I tried to think, okay, how could I make celebrating fun? Well, I love music. So I started saying, okay, when I make I'm going to go, amen, 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 amen. And I did that one day, and my husband says, what's the deal with you? Why are you? Because I was working on this really hard project that I wanted to procrastinate about. I didn't want to do it. And so I was like, every little step I would celebrate that. And it was amazing how it helped.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that you said a word, Liz, that is near and dear to my heart and our hearts here in PEI is capture. That was the key to what we teach in our SOAR program. And SOAR means systemize and organize, act with action and reference. And to me, systemize, the word capture is in there. Systemize the capture of information. That was huge because you guys, we have things coming to us from all different directions. And especially if you're out of your norm, you've got a new baby, you've got a new job, you're moving, whatever, you're out of your norm. Information is coming in from so many different places. So just the act of systemizing the capture of that, whether it's in a notebook or an online tool, we have something called the SOAR board that we capture things with. Whatever you have, just think of one way to capture all of the incoming things in one place as a place to start, right? And then you organize that information. And Barbara teaches into two main categories: action or reference. So do you want to expand on that a little bit, Liz?
Yes, I think as an organizer who'd had my own residential business for years, and then I'd done some office, mostly small entrepreneurs in person. And then I started my training and did my training to become certified with the Productive Environment Institute. And I'm kind of embarrassed at what I did in those early years. And I kind of worry that there are a lot of organizers out there just winging it and not really knowing that whether their system will work for thousands of people, that it'll work for people who are neurodivergent, who have ADHD. They are using overly complicated methods. And I'm kind of embarrassed that was maybe me too in the very beginning. So I'm really grateful for the training, and it's really revolutionized my business when I'm in person. Certainly it's helped me when I'm working virtually through the Productive Environment Institute programs. I think the same could be said for the dashboard. It has kind of revolutionized my to-do list and made things a lot simpler and helped me capture things in a way that my old school way of doing things didn't. So I do think having the right tools is important. certainly people try one planner after another and after another, and maybe that's not the best thing. But I do think sometimes there are the right tools, the tools that will work for you. And I just am really excited about what PEI has created, and that it works, that it's effective, and that it's relatively simple.
Yeah.
Well, one of our principles always is that half of any job is having the right tool. I learned that from my father growing up on the farm. And one of the things we've seen with clients is that often they try a tool and they jump ahead. Oh, that didn't work, and they throw it. And the piece that's missing is saying, okay, what do I like about it and what do I not like about it? Like Liz, you mentioned David Allen. And David Allen's system absolutely works. There are people for whom it's just fantastic. We get some David Allen dropouts because it is kind of complicated. So we often say, what is the next action? Breaking it down into that little thing. But when you're using a tool and it doesn't feel like it's working right, it's important to stop enough to identify why it isn't working. What about it do you like and what do you not like? Because then you're going to get enough information to make a better choice the next time. And the other thing, as we're talking about this with a new baby or caregiving or something, sometimes the way you capture information may need to be changed. Because something isn't working now doesn't mean it was wrong before. It means the situation has changed. That's why we're calling it situational or substantial disorganization.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like what you said too, Liz, from an organizer or an expert, coach, specialist perspective, that you are an organized person. And you had your own way of doing things, right? And then you would teach your clients those things because that's what you knew to do because you did it. And some of them struggled with it because it was your way, not necessarily a way that would work for them. And I think what you did by coming into our program and learning ways that you can teach that is scalable, that you can teach many people. And, we always talk about core structure with flexibility. So what the Productive Environment Institute teaches is core structure. Now, each of your clients is going to be a little bit different, but giving them something that is core, you can teach it across the board and most people will get it and then tweak it. That's where you come in as the specialist to say, now let me dig into your specific situation and let's tweak it for you. I think
it's
that's
the art.
really important.
That's what we call the art of organizing. So we'll say, paint a picture, paint a picture for what your life would be like. And that can be your kitchen counter, right? Okay, so let's say you've got a new baby and one of the issues is stuff falling up on the kitchen counter. It's like, okay, if it were working, what would that look like? And we capture that information and then go back and figure out a way to make it adapt. It's about adaptability. And I think one of the other issues, and this goes back to what you said at the beginning, Liz, about your client with the new baby, it was like all the new stuff coming in. My word for this year is subtract. Because we are a society where the stuff is coming in all the time. And so even when you have systems in place, things get piled up because like you have so much storage space for a certain thing, but it keeps coming in and then suddenly, it's not there anymore. I had a funny thing happened. The same friend that I told you about that was moving, she's downsizing and whatever, and it was her birthday. And she said, somebody called her and said, when can I stop by? I want to bring you a birthday present. And she said, is it edible? And the person said no. And then she said, I don't have room for it.
Too much clutter. Don't bring it. Well, I want to share your website, Liz, davidsonorganizing.com. So certainly if you're in North Carolina or you're anywhere near the Charlotte area, Davidson area, definitely reach out to Liz. And I know this isn't the topic of your talk, but Liz, you also do some pretty interesting things with your relatively local clients that I think is really unique. Do you want to share that?
Sure.
Briefly?
I go back to when I was dealing with my mom. She was needing to downsize to assisted living against her will. And there was a lot of stuff in her 2-bedroom apartment that needed to go. And she said everything was valuable. And I was overwhelmed because if everything is valuable, then nothing is. And she didn't really prioritize which things were and which things weren't. And I felt overwhelmed. And here I am, as an organizer, that's my target audience, is people who are overwhelmed. And yet, so I know I felt that overwhelmed. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know which resource to use. And from that feeling, when I had the opportunity, I jumped at the opportunity to get training to be a collectibles advisor. And actually, I work globally with people as a collectibles advisor. Some of it can be done virtually. I help people to figure out what's of value, what's not of value. I will say the hidden treasures, I call them hidden treasures in a home. Typically, the things that are hidden treasures, the things that have more value than people realize, it's going to be their jewelry, especially gold jewelry or platinum. It's going to be coins. I just found a $2,500 coin that my client inherited. She had no idea because it was sitting next to a penny that was worth a penny.
Wow.
I mean, it was a collection and they were all mixed together, and she had inherited it. So she didn't know what she had. So coins is another hidden treasure I work with, and sterling silver. People are not using their sterling silver flatware. And when I tell them what they could get for some of this unused stuff, they're like, wow, I'll take the money. Now, sometimes somebody will say, oh, I'll keep that spoon. I don't want, the trade-off's not good, but a lot of times it's like, yeah. So I enjoy doing it because it helps me to help people who are overwhelmed. Some of my clients get their organizing services completely paid for with the stuff they let go of. And it does help people let go of stuff to know either it can be donated. If they haven't used it in 2 years, and you can acquire it again in 20 minutes or less for $20, organizers say, let it go. There's some decluttering questions that you can ask yourself on my website. I have a resource page, and they're free downloads. You don't have to give me your email address. But one of the free downloads is tips for do-it-yourself organizing sessions. And on page 4, it guides you through the process of questions that you can ask to help figure out whether you should keep it or not. I also have a resource page that talks about what are these hidden treasures and how do you determine, do you have things of value? Lots of questionnaires and things that are free resources on davidsonorganizing.com.
And that's for anybody, anywhere.
I just think that is one of the most valuable things, because there are so many people that shed so many tears and so much agonizing over the stuff. We are a society that has collected all this stuff thinking that our children and grandchildren were going to want it. And when they don't, people are heartbroken, and so you provide 2 different things. One is some real advice about what really is valuable, because some things that we think are valuable, it's not really that valuable, but also that emotional support. So I just am so thrilled, Liz, that you are in our team, and so glad that you decided to join us and to join us today too.
Yeah.
Well,
any last words? Go ahead.
On the office page of davidsonorganizing.com, there is a link to take a scorecard, which is, if listeners don't know, it's a short quiz to help determine how conducive to productivity your office environment is. And take it when you're in a good mood. Don't take it when you're really down on yourself, or you'll skew the results bad. But I then follow up. We have a series of emails. We have a free download that is priceless that you will get. So I really encourage people to get their scorecard, download and print that free document. It's called a blueprint. And then read the emails that you get that explain the blueprint. It's all free. And then you can schedule a call with me, and we can discuss how we can move you forward from where you are on your scorecard to where you want to be.
Perfect. Love it. So guys, check out Davidson Organizing, screenshot this, or the link will also be in the description box on YouTube. So make your way over there. And to find out more about how we all work, Barbara, myself, Liz, and our team of certified productive environment specialists, we invite you to one of our webinars, productiveenvironment.com/webinar. If you're new to us and you're just watching this or someone shared this with you, when you register for the webinar, it asks how you heard about us. And you can put YouTube or whatever, but also put, if you're hearing about it on here, put podcast Liz, or just put Liz, so we'll know that, you watch this interview. So we would love for you to do that. So feel free to go over there, make your way over there and watch that as well. So Liz, thank you so much for joining us. This was a great interview, and you've got a lot of phenomenal resources for people. Let me see. I've got one more comment I got to share here. Everybody's loving your info, Liz. And just want to shout out to all of you that are sending in comments. Thank you for that. We so appreciate your participation. It's great having you guys here. So we will see you. Share this video. If you guys know someone that needs to see this video, maybe you've got somebody that that's going through some things. Share this with them. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.